Now, I noticed that you're on position one there, and if I look to the top right of the screen, it says, you're number one out of 39,400,000 results. So obviously you didn't do the inverted comma thing to do the search there, but still, that's the number one position. Most people will be typing in those keywords. What's the importance of coming up, say, number one compared to number two, three, four, and the rest of the results on that page?
The lion's share of the traffic goes to position number one. We actually recently did a short little video. I'll try and think of the best place to find it over at my YouTube account, where here in Melbourne, I sent some of my team members into the city and they interviewed just random people on the streets. And we created a little video here. It's Google versus Yellow Pages. And what we did in this video, it's just a short little, I wouldn't call it a viral video, but it's kind of like branded content. And I'll just sort of skip in. We interviewed random people, and of all the people that we interviewed, people said they click on position number one or number two. They absolutely never go on to page number two. It's always the one or two positions, and they just trust that that is the right information. So the point at which you get, if you were to compare position one to position three, I've heard numbers and they kind of like vary around, but it's kind of like 70% or thereabouts of the search traffic, 60 or 70% goes to this number one listing, and then the
Wow.
rest is spread out beneath. And the further you drop down the page, it drops off really, really quickly. So if we talk about right down the bottom here, and there's another one of my websites, they're going for the same keyword, but further down here, these keywords down here aren't going to be getting hardly any traffic relative to this. So that's actually another little tip that I think a lot of SEOers miss out on, and that's the idea of making sure that you have a look where you're already having easy wins. So you want to jump into your Google Analytics account and see where you're already driving traffic from, and where what keywords you're ranking for. Visit those pages in the search engines, and then anywhere where you're driving traffic from a particular keyword but you're not in position number one, that is what I'd call the low-hanging fruit, and where you should target your link building efforts first. Because if
Nice.
you're already getting traffic on a keyword that's in position number four or five, you send a few links to it, Google already thinks it's relevant because it's got on that first page. You can quickly pop it up to number one and take the lion's share of that traffic.
Wow. So as you say, you can get if you can get to that number one position, you can get like 60%, 60 to 70% of the traffic. So it's really worth it. So I just want to make sure I understand what you said there, and for our audience too. If you already have an existing blog set up and you're using Google Analytics, which is the program to test your statistics, to track your statistics, look at the keywords that you're already ranking for, the way that people are naturally finding your content on your blog already. Then do the search in Google, find out where you're ranking. And if you're not number one, do whatever you can to get your page to that number one position. And you mentioned getting links back to that page, for example, as a strategy to help you look more relevant to Google, right? And to push it back up.
Spot on. Yep.
Okay, well, I think we probably need to backtrack a little bit, just to I think we'll start with sort of the foundational stuff, and then we'll build it up a bit. If I'm just getting started with it, what is in maybe even if I already have a blog but I haven't thought about SEO, what's the first few things that I need to do, and the best sort of things that I need to do to help me set up for search engine optimization?
Yeah, well, I think if you've got a blog, chances are you've probably gone for something like WordPress. WordPress is really good. Other ones like Movable Type and different things like that. I'd probably recommend WordPress just because it is easy to use. Because it's open source, a lot of people are developing plugins, and then these plugins can give you a whole lot more flexibility and add additional functionality that you can't get in just the plain install of WordPress. So I'd say go ahead and get WordPress. If you want to do it on the cheap, you can just use their standard default template and then go ahead and install some plugins. I'd have a look at getting the all-in-one SEO plugin. If you just search all-in-one in the plugins area and you add that in, then that'll help you out as far as SEO, because it gives you a little bit more control over making sure that you can edit your title tags, meta descriptions, and keywords, which I can show you where those things fall on the page. You'd also if you're happy to spend a little bit of money, like one particular theme that we've used, which is the thesis theme. I'll just type in WordPress and search thesis theme WordPress, and there you go. There, this is a theme that we've used, and it's done for with two things in mind: both usability, so the back end is really quite simple and there's quite a lot of functionality, and they're constantly updating it. There's a good community there, so you know that that's a template that's evolving and you'll get the upgrades. And in addition to that, it's been built very much with SEO in mind. So the template itself is quite clean. It uses a lot of CSS, which is cascading style sheets, which enables you to split out parts of the code into separate files so that when Google reads the page, analyzing what that page is about or what content is on the page, it's as clean as possible. So that said, though, like you can just go for the plain WordPress install and you're going to have just as much effect. This WordPress theme, the thesis theme, is just something that we've used and it's quite good. And you'll see over here, I've headed over to our Melbourne SEO Services website. This particular theme here is the thesis theme, and we use this on quite a few of our sites, and it doesn't really feel like a blog, apart from we're on the blog area here, but we've set each of these areas up here as pages. So depending on what you're doing it for, I know we're talking to a lot of bloggers, so you can set it up with a very much a blog feel, but you can also take that and do just a normal business as well, or any website, product-based website. It doesn't have to necessarily be be that. So I'll just
Okay.
back to
So,
the search.
so when you say WordPress, I just want to clarify once again. It's a WordPress.org installation that you got to. So you got to go to WordPress.org and get the software from there, as opposed to WordPress.com, right? So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. So if you just head over here, and you can just
Yeah.
jump in there, and it's free to download.
Good.
Just go ahead,
Good.
download it, install it. It's
So I'm
a
glad
lot of
I'm glad you're showing that, because I get a lot of people asking me, is it okay to install a WordPress.com blog? And I always kind of cringe now, because it's because you don't actually own it when you have a .com
yeah.
WordPress blog. So definitely, okay, WordPress.org. That's a really good tip.
There's some benefits for why you want to make sure that you register your own domain name as well. From an SEO point of view, whenever we're structuring out and planning out a new business that we're about to move into, we pay really close attention to the keywords that we're getting into our domain name, because it does help, and you'll see it's actually quite easy to rank for a particular keyword if that keyword is in the domain name. Now, there's a whole variety of reasons why that may be. Could be something to do with the algorithm saying that, yes, this is important because it's got the keyword in the domain name. And when I say algorithm, I mean the Google algorithm. It could also be that when you're building links back to your website, obviously, when you're building links, a lot of people will link to you just with the URL of your site. And if you have the keywords in there, effectively the anchor text back to the website is going to be the URL. So it's like you're building links back to your website with your keyword as the anchor text. So that's another reason it might work. But as an example, like I would definitely suggest people go ahead and register their own domain name. When they do a little bit of keyword research, they'll analyze what is the primary keyword phrase that they'd ideally like to rank for. Now, this may vary dependent on whether or not you're trying to build a brand or whether or not you're trying to go after a particular keyword or something based around your niche. So when I talk about brand, if I go to davidjennings.com, obviously my brand is davidjennings.com. Therefore, I wanted to have my name in it. But how many people are really searching in davidjennings.com? Well, not that many at the moment. I'm hoping that'll build over time. But that's the brand that I'm building. When I compare that something to like the Melbourne SEO Services, we were very particular in registering our business name as Melbourne SEO Services, because that way when I register the domain name, it's going to have the keyword in it. Now, I would like to rank for Melbourne SEO Services. That's my initial longer tail phrase that I think I can pick up quite easily and then rank. And then once I get that, I've also built in a more competitive phrase, which is SEOservices.com, which is something that once we've got Melbourne SEO Services, we can go after quite easily. And all of that link building that we've been doing is going to be have been building links with SEO services in there. So that's going to ultimately help us rank.